Thursday, puck time. Alex B. Smith with us, found at sportsmemo.com. And our show, you can find us at sportsmemo.com, wagertalk.com, and the number one sports handicapping channel on YouTube, WagerTalk TV. Andrew, Alex, no Andrew. I am in what they call must fade mode.
Yeah, you just kind of, pretty much looking at the, things just not going your way pretty much. And that's been the realm and the story of the first round of the playoffs now. I mean, it's been the craziest first round. We saw it culminate with another upset, Carolina beating Washington in that double overtime game. And we were talking about it off air where, it seemed to me in that game from the second period on, it was pretty much dead even in the sense of Carolina had more energy, but Washington was still keeping pace, and no team was really taking a true leap. There weren't a whole lot of risks and extra chances taken, and it was a fluky goal that ended it. Justin Williams, Mr. Game 7, puts the puck on the net, which is what you're supposed to do in the overtime period. Get pucks to the net, and McGinn buries it, and that's the series in 7.
Washington looked so slow in that overtime. It was, I had Washington last night, and I turned to my awesome woman Viv, and I said to her, I want to cancel my bet so I can cheer for Carolina.
I get that feeling. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, you kind of. I guess too, it's because of the fact that we've seen. Like I said, all these upsets. So I felt like a lot of people watching, if they didn't have a bet in it, were probably feeling that same way of like, wow, Carolina, this is such a great story all year. This is a really young team to come out here and go finally break that streak of going on the road and winning a game in a hostile environment, defending Stanley Cup champions. Yeah, you can't help but not to, root for an underdog in that sense unless you bet the favorite.
Alex, before we get into the two games tonight, I want to talk some futures. We spoke about him yesterday. All I have to say is thank God the first round is over. It was one of the most wacky first rounds I've ever seen in sport, literally in history. I mean, you're talking about Tampa Bay losing to Columbus, Washington losing to Carolina, Pittsburgh losing to the New York Islanders. You're talking about Nashville losing, Winnipeg losing, Calgary losing. It's unbelievable. So let's start with futures to get us to the end. The champion. Every team, there's no majorly favored team. Boston Bruins have the shortest odds at plus 400. I like Columbus at plus 600, and I like the Avalanche at plus 700. I think we're seeing Nathan MacKinnon in the rarest of forms. I don't believe in St. Louis. I know their defense is rock solid and their goaltending is unbelievable, but they've still got 3 series to get through to win the cup. And with that offense, I think they're going to struggle. At some point, it's going to catch up to them. And I think Columbus matches up really well against Boston. So I think what Columbus is actually Boston, just faster and younger. I like Columbus at plus 600. I like the Avalanche at plus 700. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, the Colorado-San Jose series is going to be interesting because I feel like those two teams have a strong makeup to win that West. But also you got to look at Dallas now. Their offense is starting to click. If they can get some offense to match the defense that they've had all year, the goaltending they're getting from Ben Bishop right now, they're a scary team. So Dallas would be the team that I would look at leaning with in the West. But Colorado, San Jose, that's going to be an absolute dogfight now because both teams are starting to get some solid goaltending, more so on Colorado's end. But we're seeing the offenses click on both those teams as well. It's going to be a high-scoring over series. And it's funny because you're looking at the opening lines. That's the only game one that has lined at 6. Everything else is 5.5 or 5. So the bookmakers have called goes, I still like Boston. I think Boston has the right blend of youth and veteran leadership. They've got a good, proven goaltender. Columbus, yeah, they finally won a playoff series. They did it in grand fashion, upsetting the Lightning. But this is kind of like what I said last night with the Washington game. I said, yeah, Washington won the cup, but Washington's still Washington. They're still a team you've seen blow series, losing Game 6, Game 7. Columbus is a team that we've seen completely folded more times than not in the playoffs. With this long layoff over a week, this game one's going to be a pivotal one for both Columbus and Boston tonight.
So, racing through the series matchups, I told everybody yesterday, and I'll tell you guys now again, just to summarize. I like Columbus at plus 130. I like Dallas at plus 135. I like Colorado at plus 120. And I like the New York Islanders at minus 125. I like the Dallas and Columbus games to go over the total. I like St. Louis and Dallas to push at 5 every single game. I'm kidding. But it's hard to see either of those two teams score much. I like the over in the San Jose, Colorado games. And I like the unders in the New York Islanders, Carolina games. That's sort of where I'm looking down this these series matchups.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to play any series price. If I were to take a shot with one, it would be the Stars plus 145. That's the only thing that's even close to my radar. Like I said, we've seen a lot of random craziness happen in round one, and I would expect a little bit more of the same in round two, just because we've got teams we didn't plan to see in this round. So it kind of, it almost in a way kind of has to, we had to adjust our handicap on the fly a little bit because obviously we go game by game, but I'm sure a lot of us thought at the beginning of the postseason, all right, well, we're kind of looking ahead to Tampa Bay. How are they going to do against Boston, or how are they going to do against Toronto? Well, now that's completely out of the window. So we have to kind of adapt and modify a little bit. But as far as games, like I said, I see Colorado San Jose being an over series. Dallas and St. Louis have an interesting stat about games that are lined at 5. I'll talk about that when we get into the Stars and Blues in a little bit. But that seems like it's going to be a old school under series for sure. Like when Dallas and St. Louis played in the playoffs about 19, 20 years ago, and it was a bunch of 1-0, 2-1 games because that was the style of hockey back then. I think we're going to see a throwback to that a little bit.
He's Alex. I'm the Prez. You're watching PuckTime every day, Monday to Friday. We'll go all the way to the Stanley Cup playoffs, and you can find it at WagerTalk TV on YouTube. Alex, let's start. Columbus versus Boston. I've been listening to a lot of players come on talk radio in Toronto. Obviously, talk radio is all about hockey up here. It bodes well for Columbus in a 7-game series that they've had a week off. It normally does not bode well for them in the first game. Here they are at plus 130. The over and under is 5.5. Tort is such a motivator. I think this Columbus team is going to come out flying tonight. I think Boston will need to weather about a 7-8 minute storm, and then the game should settle down. I like the over in this game, and frankly, I'm going to buck the trend here, Alex, and I like the dog Columbus.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that about Torts wanting to get things started off fast, because if you look back at the first round series, the only time where Columbus looked terrible was the first period of the first game. Everything else was pretty much near perfection for them. So obviously they've got to be thinking about that in the back of their minds. We want to start off hot, not have to catch up like we had to do in game 1. Let's keep that momentum rolling from games 2, 3, and 4. And yeah, it's interesting because you got a team, like I said, been off 9 days with Columbus, where you got Boston coming off of, 48 hours where they had their big win, and now they have to come home. So you wonder, which is going to be a little bit more beneficial. But I like the over here too. The over is 9-1 the last 10 meetings of these two teams with an average combined score of 8 goals. I also like the first period over, which is 15-4 the last 19 meetings. Like I said, and if we see some fatigue from Boston, we might see them get a little physical, maybe take a penalty or two. Columbus was 5 of 10 on the power play in the first round, so that might come to play there.
Next game, Dallas against St. Louis tonight. Let's take this apart one bet at a time. Nobody thinks there's going to be a lot of scoring in this series. 5 is still a low number, Alex. 0-0 at the end of the first, 2-0 at the end of the second, and this game hits 5. I think we're going to see this number 5 come up a lot in this series, to be honest with you. I don't think we're going to see 1-0 games. I don't think we're going to see 2-0 games. Dallas, albeit throughout the season a one-line team, they found scoring from their second line in the first round. I like Dallas here, brother. The bet for me is Dallas plus 135 tonight. And if you can find betting 5 on the nose, that might be worth taking if you're going to get a plus 280 or something.
Yeah, it's interesting. I looked at this stat earlier today. There have been 1,317 NHL games played so far between the regular season and playoffs. Only 14 of those games have closed with a total of 5, and in those contests, the over is 4, 6, and 4. If you can find a 5.5 with any of those games, now you're talking about a 4 and 10 of the under trend. Like I said, I think we're going to see balanced scoring from Dallas. I think that's going to continue.
Yeah.
St. Louis has got to keep some consistency with their scoring as well. So I would lean with the over here. And like I said, we might see that 5.5 bounce out. Might even see it jump up to 6, and then we can come back and play it on the under. So definitely want to shop around with this series because 5, 5.5, 6, we might actually see those numbers start moving, which is kind of rare in the NHL. Usually, it has to be a ton of money to move a number a half a goal, but I think we might actually see some variance here.
What do you like in this game? Over, under, St. Louis minus 155 or Dallas puck line, alternate line? You've got a lot of options here.
There are a lot of options. I like the draw here at plus 290. I could see this being a 2-2 game going to OT, and then I would lean with Dallas. I like Dallas at a plus price here. Dallas is not going to be afraid to play in any venue on the road. I think they're going to be solid. They've actually, the 2 games they played in St. Louis during the season, they were actually able to win. So I'll lean with Dallas. I like the draw here at plus 290.
He's Alex B. Smith. I'm the Prez. Puck time in the bag. Make sure to watch First Pitch with the legend Dave Koken. We take apart all the baseball games from 6 p.m. onwards as well. Morning Joe with Ralph will be looking at the NBA card tonight and Friday night. Alex, thanks for joining, brother. We'll see you tomorrow. More NHL action in play. Colorado, San Jose, Carolina, New York Islanders. Should be a fun series. I love the NHL playoffs, even with my Leafs being out.
Yeah, best time of year. No time like the NHL playoffs.
Take care, brother. We'll see you guys. Thanks for listening, and make sure to comment.